Woody woo! What up, what up? Too Cold Scorpio in the house. About to do an interview with the HANNIBAL.com about this. What's been going on in Scorpio's life and what's happening in the world. Where I've been, where I'm going, and what I'm about to do tonight. It can all catch it right here on the Hannibal TV. The legend, Too Cold Scorpio, WCW, ECW, from the land of the rising sun, from nowhere and back again. And now from Montreal to you live on the HannibalTV.com. Check it out.
So it's listed on the internet that you're from Denver, Colorado. Is that actually where you grew up?
Actually, that is where I grew up. Born in Texas, grew up in Denver, Colorado, and then I moved out to Lakewood, Colorado, and graduated out there.
And when did you start getting interested in wrestling?
Ooh, I have to say it was right around 1984, 85 when I got interested in wrestling.
Did you play any other sports before getting into wrestling?
Actually, I did. I ran track. I did American football as well, and pretty much played basketball, anything that had to do with school sports or with the rec center,
And who actually trained you for your wrestling debut?
It's funny you asked me that. Actually, I trained myself.
Okay.
I used to watch it on TV a lot, train myself. A buddy of mine's, Michael Starr was his name back in the day. About $1.85, soaking wet with a brick in his pocket. Kept telling me he was a wrestler. One day I got brave enough to go out and check him out in the backyard, and next thing you know, I was in the ring bouncing around. Been wrestling ever since.
Is there any wrestlers that you looked up to when you were younger?
Back in the day, growing up, there was a lot of wrestlers on TV that I looked up to, as far as Superfly Snuka. I was into the high flyers, Jumping Jim Brunzell, Greg Iron, anybody that was into the high flying. I pretty much was into them. Marciani, back in the day, kind of guys like that and stuff, so.
And what led to you starting to train at the New Japan dojo?
Oh, basically, what really got me started in that is after teaching myself, I was wrestling in Denver, Colorado, association called the Mile High Wrestling Association with a guy out there named Thomas Reed, Tom Shea, a lot of people might know him as. But he used to run a lot of shows out there at the Mile High Wrestling Association. And Vader just happened to be back in town from overseas, working over there with Otto Vance over there in Germany. And at this given point in time, he also was working down with NWA, I want to say, or AWA. And also, he was also working over with New Japan at the time. And so he happened to be on the card, seen one of my matches on the card, and came up and said, yo, look, I can get you over in Japan, New Japan Dojo. I'll talk to the guys over there, and pretty much after that, man, Vader was the one who got me started and spotted me and got me into pursuing my wrestling career more, as when he got me over into Japan.
Were they training you to paying you to train in the dojo?
At that given point in time, they was paying me to go to Japan and train. I was getting paid $500 at that time to train in Japan, getting paid by them. Plus, when there was tours and I was on the road, I was getting per diem.
How was the training in those days? Was it pretty grueling?
Put it like this, half the kids in the business nowadays wouldn't even be in the business if they had to go through the training that New Japan would put you through. They would weed out the guys real quick. It was real hectic. 1,000 squat, 1,000 push-ups, 3 hours training, besides, the conditioning training, the weight training, the shoot training. Nowadays people talk about MMA, man, that was going on in Japan way back when, back in Gracie and, days back in the day, Shamrock and now.
Was Antonio Inoki around at all in those days?
Yes, he was. As a matter of fact, he used to come into the dojo all the time. He stretched the guys and work out all the time. He was still really active and loved to stay in shape. And like I say, he had really started that company. And him and Sakaguchi, you know, at the given point in time. So yeah, he was one that was really big into wrestling, but he would always be in and out of the dojo and make sure he was part of the big shows and the big events if he wasn't booked to wrestle against somebody, one of the big names that was coming over.
Did you get the chance to grapple with him at all?
I had got the chance to be stretched by him. I can't really say that I had the opportunity to grapple with him. I thought I was wrestling with him, and of course, you know, playing around with me, you know, back in the day, you know, just learning about Japanese style of wrestling, thought that I knew, you know, about submission holds and stuff like that. I really got my ass handed to me, so yes.
So did you get to know Vader better in that time when you were in New Japan and he was also a big star there in Japan?
I really got to know Vader. Like I say, Vader took me under his wing and got me over there. At the point that I had got over there, I was basically his young boy and got to know him over a period of time. But Vader had lived in Boulder, Colorado, so when I was home, I had the opportunity to go up to his house and, you know, hang out with his son and meet his wife, you know, at the given point in time, and, you know, chill with his dogs and, you know, and talk about the wrestling business and the things to come.
And what was your favorite memory of that time in New Japan? Is there any match that sticks out to you?
Man, I can say all the matches stuck out to me, but most of all, I would say the first time being over there in the J Cup, going to my first J Cup over there with New Japan, meeting some of the great wrestlers from all around the world, like Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. You know, you're talking about guys from Canada, Mexico, from the States, from all around the world. So I had a chance or an opportunity to be in the ring with some of the best from all around the world. You know, Dave Finlay, you know, and, you know, guys like that.
What was Chris Benoit like in those days?
You know, back in the day, you know, Chris was a real cool, laid-back kind of a person, and I really take my hat off to Chris because when I first went to New Japan for training, Chris had a 3-week tour had 3 weeks off, I should say, not necessarily a tour, but had 3 weeks off to go home, and he started to stay in Japan for about a week and a half to help me out to make sure that I was going to be on track and be prepared for the ass whooping that I had coming for me, you know, as far as what I was really getting in store for as far as training in New Japan Dojo.
Were you surprised at everything that happened with him?
I was very much surprised to hear on everything that happened with him, especially after knowing Woman and she being our manager and ECW and stuff like that, and me and Chris, you know, just, you know, having that chemistry of where we had a bad match, folks thought it was a good match. When we had a good match, they thought it was a great match. So when we had a great match, it was like, hey, here's the roadmap, try to follow that, because we just burned down the house.
Yeah. And you mentioned Eddie Guerrero. You were also in Mexico. Did you get to know Eddie pretty well between Japan and Mexico?
Well, you know, Eddie, I remember meeting Eddie before Eddie first got into business, when he first started wrestling around 14, 15 years old. I was working, like I say, with the Mountain House Association, doing a lot of local shows down around New Mexico, and I had an opportunity to wrestle with Hector, Armando, Chavo, you know, back in that day down in New Mexico, and Eddie had came up with him one time, and they was able to get Eddie on a card, and Eddie was tearing up the house and, you know, doing things. Eddie was one of those persons that was ahead of his time. You know what I mean? He was a great wrestler at the age of 14, 15. So when he was in his 20s and 30s, he's already been in the business for 30, 40 years already, and then come from a family of wrestlers and stuff as well. So.
And Art Barr was his tag team partner. They were pretty over in Mexico, to say the least.
Man, they was awesome.
Yeah. What was Art Barr like? Because there's a lot of controversial stories about him.
You know, I mean, you know, people can say what they want to say, but I can only say on the way that he treated me. Yeah. You know, and I don't know if he treated me so good or if he's always nice and polite because of Eddie. You know, Eddie had always showed me respect, that I've always showed Eddie respect, and pretty much anybody that hung around at Eddie that, you know, he could pretty much influence and control to have the right influence over, he did on me. So I never had no problem, and I thought they made a hell of a tag team.
And was Vampiro around Mexico at all in that time?
Yes, he was, man. He was, you know, at that given point in time when I was down there, he was with the other company, AAA, and I was with CML. But he was one of the top guys that was, you know, up and coming down there at that time, along with Black Magic and Conan and a few of the others that they had over there.
And what did you think of Vampiro as a wrestler and the personality behind the scenes?
You know, I never really got to know him on a real personal level. I never really had any problem with him. I thought, being in Mexico, being down there, and when he had a chance to come to the States and work, it was all about a gimmick. He had a gimmick, and the gimmick got over. As far as on a personal level, as far as hanging out and party with him, never had that opportunity.
And how was the pay in those days? Did they treat you fair? Or?
I mean, in that time, I was getting paid, very well considering some of the top stars that was down there in Mexico that was working. If you was foreign and you've been over in Japan or you've been to WCW or WWF or something like that, and you went down to Mexico and worked, you got paid well.
And what led to you signing with WCW?
It was all about Vader, man. Me riding on Vader's coattail. I rode on his coattail to New Japan, and then after he got done with New Japan, said he was going to WCW. He got down there to WCW, and basically, me working over there, and Tori, being a big New Japan influence over there, saying, it's time for me to, been to Mexico, you've been to Germany, you've been over in Japan. Now it's time for you to go back to the States and make it big in the States. Maybe you should follow Vader, and, maybe ride his coattail. So I jumped on Vader's coattail. He got down there, got good friends with Harley Race, got down and started working, and knew Ron Simmons, being football buddies and stuff like that, played in the same sport. And at that time, Ron Simmons was tag team with Butch Reed on whatever the conflict they had down at that given point in time. They ended up letting Butch Reed go. So at that given point in time, I was going between Mexico, New Japan, and over to Germany at that given point in time. And Vader had given me a call, said that he had talked to Bill Watts, said they was ready to bring me into WCW. The guy that Ron Simmons had, he had a local guy that was pretty much a job guy that was getting ready to tag him up with the guy, get ready to give the guy a push. Vader says, hey, look, I got this guy, Scorpio, da-da-da-da-da, New Japan, trained with him, did this, did that. I think he'll be a great partner for Ron. I think he'll be a good replacement for Butch Reed. Next thing you know, Bill Watts and them, they seen the video, they seen the tape. Next thing you know, I was getting a call from Dusty Rhodes, from Vader, and next thing you know, man, I was in WCW, man.
And
Getting screwed.
What was it like being Ron Simmons' partner? Because wasn't he just coming off a world championship?
Man, I tell you, man, it was fabulous to be, tag team with one half of one of the greatest tag teams that there was. Him and Butch Reed, they was a great tag team and stuff, man. You cannot take that from him, but he was even better as a champion by himself. So for me to come in and be, not only that though, to be with Ron Simmons and realize how famous he was and how over in Georgia, how he played football down there, for me, that really had put me on the map as coming in as this mystery man, not knowing who I was and what my name was going to be at that given point in time, and to be put on the map like that, man, I mean, what else could anybody ask for?
And he's known as a pretty tough guy. Did you ever get to see any of that outside the ring with him?
I seen him outside a few times and stuff where he had to set a few people straight and had to put them into place. A few barroom fights and shit where him and Bradshaw and them had to clean house and and shit like that and stuff. You know what I mean? So if you was getting into a fight and you was in a street fight or something like that, you can better believe Ron would be there toe to toe, back to back with you, man, till the end.
And at what point in time did they decide to do the music video for you and go that direction with your character?
I really believe that had a lot to do with Michael P.S. Hayes and Teddy Long. Teddy Long was our manager at that given point in time. The stuff that I was doing in the ring, the stuff I had done over in Japan, it was really big. It was really getting over. It was something new in WCW at that given point in time. With them putting that video together, that what really made Too Cool Scorpio at that time. That really put me on the map, and I really believe, like I say, Teddy Long and Michael P.S. Hayes, writing the song, and Teddy Long now, man, they was the one who put that song together and the video, and man, it made it.
Did you have like a dance choreographer that came up with the dance you did in that, or was that all you?
It was all me, man. It was all me, and it was so funny about it because the girls that I had was professional dancers, and they used to be with the Knicks basketball drill team, and so they was used to doing steps by count and doing the same steps and the same count. where, the music would play, I would just feel the music. I would come out there, and sometimes I would dance and I would do something totally different than what I did the first time. They was like, look, we're professionals. We used to doing stuff on the count. What is the count going to be? So, it took me a little while to get behind the choreography part of it, and to be able to keep the girls on that level. I should say for them to keep me on that level as far as doing shit on a professional level. So.
And that seemed to be getting over pretty well, but they ended up teaming you with Marcus Bagwell. Was there any reason given to you why they put you in a tag team?
I just think, it was time to, we need to bring Bagwell someplace. We need to take someplace, why not put them together as a tag team? I don't know who suggested it, but, at that given point in time, man, I mean, me and Bagwell, we was rocking the house. We was getting over and stuff, and we was starting to get, the kids at center stage, and a few other places starting to follow us and stuff. So I thought that was a real good opportunity on being such an oddball type of a squad, you know what I mean? But a hell of a black and white tag team, Avery and Ivory for real.
And did you get along at the time? I understand that there's been some problems since, but at the time,
at the time that we was working at it, there was never no problems and stuff. It was the shit that I was hearing about later on as we was together and stuff about, somebody's supposed to be doing a job, going behind your back, talking to somebody else because he don't want to do the job or he can't do the job, and Scorpio ended up doing another job on TV and this and that, and it was just a whole lot of bullshit, that was built up. And the biggest thing where the heat all started about, is us coming from England and stuff like that, and the whole thing about the business seat, and him telling me, to let his wife sit there instead of asking me like, man, Scorpio, do you mind, switching seats with me and stuff like that, but come and tell me to get up my seat because you might still be fucked up. And he talked about he don't remember half the shit that went on. It's probably because he was all messed up on the pills and the drugs, but that's not hearsay. Like I said, at any given point in time, any one of these damn promotions, anybody I work for, all they gotta do is like give them a call and say, yo, can you hook up a match up between me and Scorpio? We can do a shooting match and get this shit done, squash it, and let's be done with it. So.
But there's no one's tried to set that match up yet, I guess.
Not really. So I don't know if nobody really tried to set it up, or if somebody's just selling wolf tickets and don't really want to show up or lace up the boots and really step in the ring.
Now, were you around for the Sid and Arn Anderson incident that happened? We recently talked to Sid about it, and he mentioned Vader was there for it, and I'm pretty sure you were also on that tour.
Well, I put it like this and stuff. If I wasn't there, Sid or Arn Anderson probably wouldn't be here today. Put it like that. So if it wasn't for me breaking up the fight between those two guys, I was the one who broke them up. I'm the one who went to the hospital with them, and I'm not even fucking office, but yet I go to the office and I'm doing the paperwork for him, and I'm doing the paperwork for Anderson. I'm calling his wife, and I'm calling his wife, trying to handle everybody's business and shit like that and shit, which ain't got nothing to do with me. But yeah, I was there.
And Sid mentioned to us that it was Arn that actually started that by hitting him with the bottle first. Did you?
The whole incident had started way before we got at the damn hotel. That's when the whole shit started. People on the damn bus with the wooden spoons staring up shit. You have an 8-hour flight. You get over there, and the first thing you do as soon as you get there, after an 8-hour flight, is you got to go take a 3.5-hour ride straight to the vignette. You got to go and wrestle. You got to go and fight. As soon as you get done fighting, you got another 6 hours right after the match. A 6-hour bus ride back to the next town that you're going to be in the next day. And so you're on the bus, you're eating, everybody's drinking beers, and what little handful of pills or whatever you was able to sneak over there and shit, people taking this, taking that, staring up the pot, so by the time they got to the hotel, the shit was already in an uproar. We're all sitting at the table, sitting at the table, luckily, we got back to the hotel. They was able to scrounge up some sandwiches and chips for us that night and everything and stuff. So we're all sitting around the table, and the conversation is still going on about, what Ric Flair has done in the business and what Arn Anderson has done in the business and what Sid, and they're kind of going back and forth with all that bullshit. And, the next thing you know, shit, Sid, didn't throw his fucking glass. Sid just took his fucking beer and shit, motherfuckers talking shit. Sid fucking threw his drink at the motherfucking Arn Anderson, threw his glass. That's how the shit started and shit. Shit escalated. When the shit started like that, Sid, Sid, everybody always thought Sid is just a big, pussy, this person did this, person did that. Sid is a big scary motherfucker. When that motherfucker get to the point where he get mad and he want to do something, and that's what happened. They pushed him to the point he was ready to fight. You know what I mean? Arn answered through the glass. They got ready to brawl at the table. Dillinger broke it up, told everybody to go to their room. Everybody's, party's over, let's close it down. It's time to go. It's late. It's about 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning already. Didn't get back to the hotel till about 1:30 from the trip, already. So.
You think Sid gets kind of a bad rap sometimes?
I wouldn't say sometimes. I'll say all the time. Sid is just one of those guys and shit, you know what I mean? I mean, why do I want to go out here and make $1 million wrestling and shit when I can go out there and play softball and do something that I love?
Yeah.
It's a difference, you know what I mean? So.
And another incident that happened in WCW that's pretty famous, I'm not sure if you were there for it, but with Vader and Paul Orndorff, were you with the company at that time?
I was with the company at that time, but I wasn't there at the time of the flip-flop, supposedly incident, fight, knuckle fight, punched out, whatever, beat down with the flip-flops. I wasn't there for that, and really I heard, bits and pieces of the story, two different sides of the story. A lot of times, you hear one side of the story, and by the time it gets to you, shit done been added to it. So it's really hard to say on what really went down in that situation, because I wouldn't see it for my own self, with my own eyes.
Yeah, when we talked to Vader about it, he mentioned that Paul Orndorff wasn't actually in flip-flops because he was an agent. So I don't know if it was common for agents to wear flip-flops backstage in WCW.
At that given point in time, it really wasn't. Most agents and stuff, they came in dressed like agents and stuff most of the time and stuff. So.
He also said that Haku actually was the one that broke it up. So I guess only Haku might know exactly what happened in that room.
Right, like I say, of course, anytime there's a fight or there's a dispute in the argument, they're gonna let the boys go ahead and get in 1-2 shots. I'm gonna let you go ahead and get off 2. He's gonna go ahead and get off 2 shots, whatever it is, and then now let's break the shit up, because eventually we still gotta work together. You know what I mean? Solve the problem, squash it, let's be done with it. But you still gotta work together. And then again, when you're talking about an agent and somebody in that position, now you have to be worried about your job. More so.
And there seems like there was a lot of politics in WCW in those days. Would that be accurate?
For me, being on the indie scenes and over in Japan, me just coming into WCW, I didn't really see all of the politics, but there was a lot more politics there than what I did know. But once again, there was nowhere as half as much politics in WCW as it was in WWF at that time.
Did you know Steve Austin at all in those days?
I did know him in those days, and I really have to take my hat off to Steve Austin in those days, because when he was working, part of the Hollywood Blondes, when I came into WCW, he was working the loop, going from town to town, doing Broadways with Ravishing Rick Rude. I became good buddies with Ravishing Rick Rude, but the reason I have more respect for Steve Austin is because he was doing Broadways for the heavyweight championship belt with Ravishing Rick Rude going around, and he had to work with me one night, and Pops, Grizzly Adams, was the agent at the time. And we had to do this match, we had to do this show, and he came and told Steve Austin, Bill Watts was trying to push me over, was trying to, give me a push and everything. So, guys with certain names and stuff like that was putting me over, and Steve was the only guy really that came to me and said, look, we need to go and talk to this agent, because this is some bullshit. He goes, I've been doing 20-minute Broadway with Ravishing Rick Rude, and they want me to go out and put you over in 9 minutes. He goes, Scorp, I'm going to have no problem about putting you over in the ring. He goes, but I'm going to be damned if I'm going to go out and put you over in the ring and you've been doing 20-minute Broadways with the champion. So we go back there and talk to the agent. He goes, unlike your partner Bagwell, who every time you got to go and do a job, he goes and complains because he don't want to do the job and he don't want to look back and get it switched over where you end up doing the job. Now, that's where shit starts like, what? Bagwell doing what? But anyways, that's another story. So anyways, we go in the office and he goes and talks to Chris and says, look, Chris, I'm gonna tell you like this: Scorpio, I don't have no problem about working with Scorpio. I don't have no problem about putting him over in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. He goes, well, I'm gonna do it my way. He goes, I've been doing Broadways around with fucking Rick Raps and Rick Rude, 20-minute Broadways for the belt. And now you want me to go out and put him over 9 minutes? He goes, that's not gonna be done. I'm gonna do it in my time and X amount of time. And I think we probably went out and probably worked 12, maybe close to 15 minutes, so give or take. And he did the job for me in the middle of the ring, 450 off the top, 1, 2, 3. And that's when, that I said, okay, redneck, no redneck, say what you want to say. I got respect for the man because of the way that he dealt with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's all that I can say.
Did you have much contact with his partner, Brian Pillman, at that time?
Brian Pillman, I wasn't crazy about Brian Pillman. We didn't have a whole lot of contact. Brian, he was in his own little world. He really thought that he was a high flyer. He done a springboard clothesline when he came in. He really thought he was a high flyer. And then when I came in there and the shit that I was doing, kind of blew his shit out of the water. So, it probably took him a good couple of weeks or so before he really even came up and said hi to me and shit. So, there was a little bit of heat, when we got in the ring until he realized that, Scorpio's is not no pushover. He trained over in Japan. And if you think you're going to go in the ring and eat him up, you got another thing coming. And he learned that real quick.
And I don't know if you were in WCW at the same time as PN News, but it seems like he had a lot of heat. Do you know anything about that?
I do know something about that. The thing about that is I'm going to tell this, and this goes for all companies and everybody out there, and my boy Devin Moore as well. This is called a cardinal sin. Anytime that you go into a boy's bag without his permission and you take anything, especially his wallet, tape, pills, does not matter. It's a cardinal sin. You deserve an ass whooping. Period.
And was Eric Bischoff around at all before you were released from WCW?
As a matter of fact, he was. Eric Bischoff came in toward the tail end of when I was getting out of there. Eric was always starting to pop up, was starting to be around. Dallas Page started bringing him around and shit like that and stuff, you know what I mean? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Dallas might have had a lot to do with him getting in his position and having a shot with WCW at that given point in time, if I'm not mistaken.
What do you think of Dallas Page in general?
I think in general, Diamond Dallas Page, me and him, we've always clicked. I never had a problem with him. He's one of those guys that will truly underestimate you if you was only to be around him and his gimmick. You really have to be around him to hang out with him to get to know him and know who he truly is. And this thing that he's got going on, man, with this DDP yogurt is magic.
And what actually led to your release from WCW?
Probably piss testing positive one too many times. Jealousy, hate, pick one.
And the North Korea event that you were a part of, were you there on behalf of New Japan or WCW?
New Japan.
Okay. What was that experience like? Because I've heard it was really weird.
It was an experience of a lifetime. It was very weird to be on an airplane that was their airplane that was bugged. Having your room bugged and having microphones in your room 24 hours. Having not one, not two, but 3 translators with you at all given point in times with everybody that was there. Taking your passport as soon as you come in. Flying into North Korea, flying over South Korea, saying all the tanks and the guns lined up pointing toward the left, and then the big goalie, and then the North tanks facing toward. And as you're flying over the South, you see them working in the fields with tractors and up-to-date equipment. And as you get over to the North, you see them still working the ox fields with the rice fields with oxes and the old plows and stuff like that. And it's like, okay. And looking for the airport where there's no airport. And as you get ready to land, like you're about ready to crash into the mountain, and it kind of swoops down airport was just kind of built into the mountain and stuff, that and experience in itself was a trip, and then to land and before you even get off the plane for them to ask you for your passport, and realizing, okay, shit, I just gave my passport and I'm in a communist country. There ain't much you can do about it.
Is it true that they teach their people like different history than we hear here in the Canada and the States about wars and stuff like that?
Being that I didn't really have an opportunity to interact with a whole lot of people as far as their beliefs and how they study and their history or anything like that, we kind of interacted at some events, and it was basically, fake Proftons hanging out at the same place, kind of enjoying something that the government had put together. Not sure if the people was forced to be there, if they was there on their own choice or will. Kind of really hard to say.
And I think those were like the two highest attended wrestling events of history, weren't they?
Hogan has done a lot of things in his business. Flair, a lot of wrestlers have done a lot of things. That's only one thing that I can say that I've got on Hogan is this: I wrestled for 199,000 people, not one night, but 2 nights in a row. I don't think Hogan ever wrestled for that many people in one night, but that's about the only thing that I got on him.
Now, did the incident with Hawk happen on that tour?
As a matter of fact, it did. And it all regarded about pretty much everybody being stressed out, been out of gimmicks, been out of Roy's, been out of the stuff that they used to have and stuff like that. I think that had a lot of attention and stuff to do with it. And then me, just Scorpio and the mouth that I have sometimes and shit, had a lot to do with the situation too at the time and stuff, Ric Flair standing in the door doing the Ric Flair thing, and Hawk looking at Ric Flair, and Ric Flair looking around like he might be looking for somebody, and Hawk says, I think Ric Flair's looking for somebody. Maybe he's looking for me to go ride in the car with him again. And me being as smart as I be, I said, F that pussy, let him ride by himself. And I guess he didn't hear the F part or the pussy part or whatever it was. And he asked me what I said. And I said it again. And next thing you know, fight was on.
Were you a little worried getting in a skirmish like that in North Korea with your passport seized?
I thought I was going to be thrown in goddamn jail and be locked over there. And everybody was going to be back over there in Japan. And my ass was still going to be in North Korea, stuck in the damn jail, and ain't done a damn thing I can do. Thank God it was on the bus, not in the streets, and it wasn't something that was more serious where, one of us, was in the process of having to lose a limb or something like that and had to go to the hospital, because then it probably would have been some kind of charges or something, brought upon me or something like that would have happened, so.
It was more of just a quick thing, and when it was over, it was over?
No, not necessarily. It kind of lingered on for a few hours and a few days and stuff like that, and by the time we got back to Japan, it pretty much was all squashed and settled by that time and stuff. But I was also forewarned by Black Cat Nicholson, rest in peace, that also told me at the given point in time, hey, look, bro, because I was planning on doing some real devious type stuff, that no man probably should be thinking of doing it in his right mind. And like he said, Joe, if you do that over here, bro, you're pretty much on your own. You can go ahead and kiss the States goodbye and your life. If this happens in Japan, well, and that's a different story. I can probably get you out. I know enough people, I can probably get you home. It won't be the safest way, but I can get you home. So from there, by the time we got back, it was all over with, said and done.
And is it true the food there, it's very hard to come by meat, like good quality meat?
Good quality meat was very hard to come by. I was starting to get real leery. Started out with a lot of pigeons around the place, and when you're seeing a net around a building and a lot of pigeons, and when you first arrive and every day you got these henchins and little pigeon looking like type birds, for lunch and dinner, it kind of makes you a little leery when you start seeing the pigeons around the hotel starting to disappear a little bit and the crowd getting a little thinner, so.
And you were in ECW during its peak time. Everyone remembers that. Was it Paul Heyman that contacted you to come in?
Actually, it was Todd Gordon. who
Okay.
actually contacted me. You know, a lot of people, mention, ECW. The first thing they mention is Todd Gordon. Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was a mastermind, but a lot of those mastermind and great shows that he put together was put together with Todd Gordon. A lot of people forget about that. Now, Paul Lee was a man that could sell you anything. And he knew how to give a hell of a speech to the boys, to know how to fire them up, to go out there and give them your blood and guts and glory and give them everything that you got, and hoping that the paycheck wasn't going to bounce a mile high, because he can almost guarantee that the check was good.
And what are your thoughts on Taz?
My thoughts on Taz was, when I came in ECW, he thought he was ECW. He thought he was the only guy that can wear black and orange. He learned real quick. You know what I mean? After a period of time, never really had any problem with Taz at all. My thing is Taz, he made the right move at the right time to get out of the fucking wrestling business, because you can't be a smidget and be a wrestler and be in the wrestling business. So to switch over to the announcing and what he did was probably one of the best moves that he could have probably done when he made that switch.
And Tommy Dreamer.
Tommy Dreamer, like I say, back in the day in ECW, Tommy Dreamer was part of that New York clique. There was a certain guys that was from New York: Paul Lee, Tommy Dreamer, Guido, Taz. There was a lot of guys that, that was from that area that kind of hung out together. Tommy has done a lot of things. He's been here, he's been there, he's been to WWE, he's been to TNA, he's been an agent, and he's running his own shit. You can't take nothing from Tommy or what Tommy's really doing. At any given moment in point in time that I thought that Tommy might have been a kiss ass because he was doing whatever Paul Lee, but you gotta remember, when I wasn't getting paid in ECW, my check would bounce. If it wasn't Todd Gordon, it was Tommy. It was Tommy who made sure that my check was good and that I got my money, that I got paid. That's why I can never say nothing bad about Tommy, because Tommy, regardless of what people might say or what people might think, he always made sure that I got paid. It may take a little time, but he always made sure my check was good at the end.
And what about Sabu?
Sabu, was another one of them guys that, I just clicked with. We had a really good time. We've been in Japan, ECW, WCW. There's a lot of places around the world that we've been and tore the house down and had a lot of great matches. Sabu's one of those guys that's kind of, has been kind of one of those guys that's kind of been out there and kind of would always be out there. But at the same time, he's one of those guys that, had been in the business for so long at a young age that he's probably forgotten more shit than most guys will probably know.
And did you like Joey Styles as a commentator?
I love Joey Styles as a commentator. That, oh my God, got over so good in the ECW, and the way that he would describe and some of the things that you would do as far as your moves, it was phenomenal.
What do you think of everything that's happened with him getting fired from WWE recently?
The thing about it is unfortunately, I really don't keep up, with the WWE. Really don't really give a damn too much about what's really happening up there. Because to me, what's really happening up there is not really a whole lot of wrestling, it's still a whole lot of jaw jacking. And it still seems like you still got to go to NXT or you got to go to the independent group to see good wrestling.
And what do you think ECW's biggest mistake was? Is there anything they could have done to have kept the company going?
Yeah, not sell it to Vince.
And speaking of Vince, what led to your WWE debut?
What led to my debut?
Yeah.
Vader again, riding on his coattail. What people don't realize, is from New Japan to Mexico, to basically to Germany, with the help of my, second ex-wife at that given point in time, third ex-wife might have had got me with the help of giving me the job over in Germany. But as far as all the major companies from New Japan, from around the world, I've only worked for number one and number two companies from around the world, and it's all been pretty much because of Vader, because I've been riding on his coattail. When Vader went from New Japan and he jumped to WCW, I went with him. When he went from there to WWF, I went with him. When he went to All Japan and went back to All Japan, I went with him. When he made that switch and he made the deal to go to Noah, I went with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I got that opportunity at the end to come back. But at that time, Vader was already fading out. Didn't have him or Ron Simmons or somebody else to pursue or to ask that question. Do you think this is a good idea for me to go back to WWE now at this given point in time? And after 7 years of working and where I was at, I should have just stayed my ass in Japan and stayed with Noah because I got screwed in the end anyways.
Did you have anything to do with the Flash Funk gimmick, or is that something they gave you?
Only thing that I had to do with the Flash Funk gimmick was to take Two Cold Scorpio, stick him into the Flash Funk gimmick, and prove to Vince that I could get this gimmick over no matter what gimmick or what name that you give me in a shorter period of time than what you have normally would give somebody to get over with a new gimmick. If you go to WWF and you get a new gimmick, Vince will give you at least, well, back in the day, he would give you at least a year or 2 years to get the gimmick over with him pushing you if he didn't wake up and decided he wanted to go a different route, the next day.
Is that what happened when they switched you back to Scorpio? They just kind of spur of the moment switched it, you arrived at TV?
I truly don't think so. I think it was just something else for them to go on and something to see, okay, let's just see what can he do at Scorpio out there, or how people are going to get behind him at Scorpio, being with the Job Squad. Because you got to figure the Job Squad was none but the top guys in ECW that was over. Bob Harley, Al Snow, Blue Meanie, all of those guys who was on top in ECW at the given point in time to come down to the WWF at that given point in time, which is now the WWE, and be doing job guys, really? Yeah, so Job Squad, here we go. Who do we got to make look good this time?
So by that point, you're just collecting a paycheck. You didn't really care.
Collecting a paycheck and still showing them that doesn't matter if you put us in the Job Squad or you put us wherever you put us at on the card, we're still going to go out there and rock the fans.
Right. And you ended up having a couple Brawl for All matches. How did they present that idea to you?
I think, Vince has always been one of those guys that he truly believes in. If a motherfucker is a badass and you think yourself is a badass, get in the ring and show it. And I think that at that given point in time, is you had a lot of guys down in WCW who was considered as some badass people. And, this guy's talking about this guy's better than this guy, or this guy whooped this guy's ass, well then let's see. Let's do a Brawl for All, whoever wants to get in and see. But then again, a lot of the veterans and smart guys are like, hey, why do I want to get into this Brawl for All, which is good, you can make good money, but you always have to look at that but. If I get knocked out by this guy who has no name that's in the brawl, what does that do for my professional career? It just kills it. So that's why there's a lot of big name people like, look, I worked too hard to get this far with my name and my career to go out and take a chance of maybe getting knocked out. Not say I will get knocked out, but if I did, what would that do to my career? And then again, there's a lot of people like myself who's like, shit, I ain't got nothing to lose. What? You can win $100,000, $1,000 a night? Shit, sign me up. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I got about $2,000 and stuff, you know what I mean, before I got out of there and stuff, which was good. I actually get in originally and they said no, I couldn't. And then I realized later on that they had put me in as an alternate, but I never thought I would get the opportunity to actually be able to get in there and maybe fight for the opportunity and get a chance to win the money. And I got the opportunity, got my two.
And speaking of wrestlers doing shoots, what was your opinion on CM Punk's UFC match that he had? I'm sure you probably saw the highlights of that.
I really didn't see the highlight, but my thing is he didn't impress me as far as a wrestler. I guess, 35 years in the business, it's very hard to see something new in the business, and pretty much a lot of the young kids nowadays is copying somebody from Japan or somebody that's there at scene. And with me just coming out of Noah, it seemed like everything he was doing was the same shit that Kenta was doing over in Japan. It's like I seen this already, but Kenta, it looked more real because the shit was real compared to trying to do it as a work now, because there's a lot of people in the WWF that don't want to get hurt. They had, because this is where I make my money. I want to be able to work tonight, tomorrow night, and the rest of the week as well. Where over in Japan, it didn't matter. You fought for what you had every single night. You gave 110% regardless. So as far as his ultimate fight, I never thought that he would really make it as a fighter, because I really don't know how many fights he had really ever been in. So, just like anything else, once you've been in it and you train, you can become good at anything that you do if you put your heart to it. So I don't know from professional wrestling to the point of his fight on how much he has progressed into an ultimate fighter and how was his match in general.
Do you think it was good for professional wrestling that a multiple-time world champion got dismantled so easily in a MMA fight?
No, because then what does that say about the business? It's a work.
Exactly. And what led to you leaving the WWE?
Being fired, basically, is give me a call one day and say, hey, probably could have been doing what a whole lot of jealous ass people that was up there in the office at the time could have had something to do with it. The ex-wife always says it was all because they only needed the name. We needed your name because of the 24-hour TV that's coming out, and to be able to sell it on TV and to sell this, we got to have your name. And the thing about a contract is with a big company. Once they sign you with a big contract to a big company, if they let you go before your contract is up, they don't necessarily have to pay you the royalties and the things that you was promised in your contract. So it's always that catch-22 that's in there that, guys have to be very leery about that one-sided contract that the WWE has a tendency to hand out.
And is there any match that you had in WWE that stands out to you as your favorite match?
Man, in WWE, at that given point in time, I wasn't really there long enough to really say that I had any great matches. Now, WWF, when it was WWF, there's a lot of guys that I had great matches with, me and Billy Gunn, me and the Assaultant. There was a lot of matches that I could consider, some of my good matches, the great matches that I had down there that I would consider some of my good matches. I probably had better matches in ECW and WCW and probably Japan because I had an opportunity of more time in the ring to go out there and actually tell a story and put on a match.
And speaking of Japan, when you went to Pro Wrestling Noah after WWE, you were able to team with Vader. Was that pretty cool considering that he'd helped you so much over the years?
Just like I said, we was with All Japan and Vader had made the deal, realized that Noah was about ready to start up, that Mizawa was going to start a new company, and I gave the opportunity for Vader and me to be over there. When Vader had made the deal, it was pretty much for me, him, and Richie Slinger pretty much to go over there, on the deal and stuff. So, and that's how, that I really got that opportunity to go with Noah. And then for me and Vader to be tag team, was even better. And then to become one of the first tag team teams for Noah even meant more.
And you were also partners with Doug Williams and champions with Doug Williams. He has a bit of a name for himself now. How did you like teaming with him?
My thing is I thought it was good to be able to be on a different team with a different style of wrestler. There's so many guys that can be together that has so many totally different opposite styles, but to put them together in the ring and the chemistry that they can have as a tag team partner could be phenomenal.
And I guess Marufuji's in control of Noah now. He has a lot of pull there. Was he around when you were in Noah?
Marufuji is one of those guys that has that chemistry that me and Chris Benoit had. Me and Marufuji had some house burner style type matches, and it's one of those type of guys that, like I say, we can go out and have a halfway decent match and people think it's a great match. He's a real talented top hand guy, even as a young kid, and now being a top guy over there, he's seen the business run a lot of different ways and stuff, you know what I mean? So as far as Marufuji, he's definitely a go-to guy.
And you were re-signed to WWE in 2006. Was that kind of just a call out of the blue to you? Or?
That was basically 2007, yeah, a call out of the blue, more or less and stuff. At that given point in time, I was pretty much getting tired of living over in Germany. Beaches and stuff like that was too far away. I was ready to be back in States and, around people who spoke a little bit more English. So for me, that was my opportunity to get back into the States, but it probably was one of the worst moves that I probably could have done in my career, was re-signing with those guys at that time.
And I guess you were sent to Deep South Wrestling.
Go figure. Yeah, I was.
That was pretty controversial territory, I guess, because of Bill DeMott allegedly used some bizarre training techniques.
When I was down there, I didn't really have to go through some of the techniques that they had down there, been how I had been there, done that. It was more or less to try to see, is he in shape? Is he ready to be on TV? More or less, I think, is why I had to be down there at that given point in time. But I really didn't have to experience much of their training experience that they had down there as well.
Okay, so if you were to do it again, you just would have avoided that whole little run there.
That whole little ordeal of re-signing, yes, I would have, wouldn't have re-signed, and I would have stayed where I was at. I was becoming the top guy, over at NOAA at that given point in time, and to work for 7 years to become one of the top Americans over there, to give it up, on a hope and a wham, and then to come back and then to say, okay, 3 months later, 4 months later, we're going to let you go. Sit at home for 4 or 5 months before they decide if they want to even send me anywhere. You know what I mean? So, which was, pretty shitty. The only thing good about it was I was sitting at home getting paid.
Yeah.
Getting paid to do not a damn thing, which was quite boring after working, pretty much every single day on a tour, 4 or 5 days a week, to working no days. It was pretty limited.
And you mentioned you don't follow WWE's product, but is there anyone on TV now that you wish you could have a match with?
There's probably, if I had to go back and say, who would I wouldn't mind going back having another match with, like, Jericho.
And what are your thoughts on Brock Lesnar?
Brock who?
Brock Lesnar.
Now you know what my thoughts are.
And I'm not going to go into the details of this, but I saw a clip from the Kayfabe commentaries interview you did.
I don't know what you're talking about, kayfabe.
Yeah, is that guy gay? I'm just curious with some of the questions.
Actually, believe it or not, he's straight with a wife and a family, man. Go figure.
So I heard that you wrestled Andre the Giant in Mexico. Can you just tell me your memories of working with him?
Let me tell you, wrestling against Andre the Giant, it was a true pleasure to be able to wrestle one of the legends in the business. My first thing is, man, I'm getting in the ring. This old man, he's old, he's slow, he ain't gonna be able to hit hard. Oh, this is gonna be easy. And I remember getting in the ring and him grabbing me around my neck, and I remember his hands felt like it wrapped around 2 times around my neck. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he kind of backed me up into the corner with his slow big man walk. And he raised his hand up nice and slow. And wham, hit me in the top of my head. I felt like a redwood tree just hit me in the top of my head. I'd never been hit so hard in the top of my head by an old man. But I'm telling you, it definitely was an experience of a lifetime.
Did you get the chance to go out with him at all and see any of these drinking stories that we hear about?
I never had a chance or the opportunity to go out and actually see him, but I got a chance to experience from Narita Airport to the hotel, seeing him drink a case of red wine from the hotel, from the airport to the hotel, which is about an hour and a half ride, give or take on traffic. And by the time we got to the hotel, I'm gonna say he had 3 bottles left out of 24 and wasn't even drunk.
Wow. How did you end up in WCW?
WCW, New Japan, all the places I've ever been. The reason I got there is because I've been riding on Big Van Vader's coattail. Big Van Vader spotted me, Denver, Colorado, out in the Mile High City. Next thing you know, he was getting me a ride over to Japan, go train in the dojo, and from there, I just been riding on his coattail as much as I possibly can.
Was the New Japan dojo as hard as people say it was?
When I had went there and stuff, it had eased up, but it was still twice as hard of anything I've ever done in my entire life as far as training. But I have so much respect for those guys after going through that and being able to make it through and pass, because there's a lot of guys who went through and never graduated.
What is your greatest memory of working for New Japan?
Oh man, some of my greatest memories of working with New Japan was just how nice the guys was, how they took me in. But at the same time, I had to earn my respect. So they had gave me the opportunity to go over there, but having Hirohashi as my trainer, the great Kinsuke Sasuke as well, having those guys coach and teach me and train me. Then I had guys like Muda, Hashimoto, Chono, guys like that. They would always be in the dojo. They would always get in the ring and work out with me too as well. So that was always, just a great pleasure to have them to be able to take me under their wing and teach me the Japanese style.
And you worked for Bill Watts in WCW. He was in charge for, I think, most of the time you were in there. Right. A lot of people claim he was racist. I'm just wondering what your experience are.
Shit, it is what it is. Bill Watts is a racism. You know what I mean? But I'm going to tell you, like Bill Watts told me, he says, look, I'm a racist, and I might call you a nigga. Maybe once, maybe twice. But I'm going to tell you right now, I know how to make money. And that's what he's seen. He knew that he could make money with me or anybody else that he put in there, whether it's Junkyard Dog, Ron Simmons, or whoever it was that he put in there. He knew that he could make money with it. But the bottom line is, he's still prejudiced.
Was the music video that kind of introduced you to WCW his idea?
To be honest with you, I really don't know if that was his idea, but all I know is it was Michael P.S. Hayes who put it all together. I have to give my props to him. He was the one, him, Teddy Long, was the one who went and got the girls. They was the one who did the super video. Michael and his group, his band, was the one who put the beat together and stuff, which I thought was, fabulous. People say a lot of things about Michael Hayes being prejudiced or whatever he was, but a lot of people that was prejudiced in the business, I had them taking me under their wing, and which was unusual, probably because of my talent or my skills. But with Michael Hayes and him taking that on himself to make that story, that basically made me.
And you ended up teaming with Marcus Bagwell and winning the WCW championship, tag team championships. I know you don't get along with him well, but what was it like as a tag team with him? And can you explain what the big heat is now?
It was cool, tag team with Bagwell and shit, I thought we was a hot tag team. We was on the rise. My thing is I thought that, Marcus, we could have went and hung out a little bit more down around the hood and got a little bit more of the black girls on our side as well, who was crazy about his white ass, and we could have went over here to the white side of town and had some, a proper meal, 5-course meal, done it right, and we could have had the whole group of Atlanta surrounded around us. One of the hottest tag teams that was going on. The heat that I got between Bagwell is I thought he was just a punk. You know what I mean? I put my dues in, I took up the ring, I tore the ring down and shit. I sweated, I went to Japan. He got his handed to him, That's okay, that's good. Everybody to each their own. This business is all about not what you know, but who you know. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. He between me and Bagwell is you run around, you talk a whole lot of shit like you're bad and like, you can whoop a motherfucker's ass. Any day of time, my brother, you just got to call me up and I'll be more than happy to drop a flight into Atlanta, drive up to your hometown and whoop your ass in front of you and your mama and anybody else that want to see it. And if you want to book it, let me tell you what, Bagwell, you want to get all this shit out, you want to sell this, let me tell you something. We can do this shit right here in Canada. We ain't even got to do it in America. We can take it right down here to Halifax if you want to, and we can get it going on. I'm telling you right now, if you want to do it, hit me up on my Facebook. Don't be no bitch. You know what time it is. It's on.
So if someone booked you versus Bagwell in a pro wrestling match, you would have no problem taking it?
Well, in a heartbeat. I'm almost subject to want to whoop his ass for free. But just like anything else, shit, I want to get paid for whooping the bitch's ass, okay? Simple,
And did you have much contact with Ric Flair in WCW?
I didn't have much contact with Ric Flair. Ric Flair was there. Ric Flair was doing his thing. Ric Flair was Ric Flair. He always thought he was too good for anything else. I had my doubts with Ric Flair. We had our few little problems in WCW. I still believe it was Ric Flair and shit who got me fired. So to me, shit, he'll always be a little punk bitch and shit. I don't care how many times you go, woo, you're still a bitch to me.
And you ended up, I guess you got fired. If you want to tell us what happened there, you can, but you ended up in WWE after that. Do you want to tell us how you ended up in WWE?
honored. You know, basically was they offered me an offer to come back. My wife was saying no, don't do it, because the WWE is just like the WWF. It ain't changed. It's just full of bullshit. One-sided contract. All I need is your name to be able to sell your product, to be able to sell your gimmick. Fight before your contract's over. Shit, I ain't got to give you nothing as far as royalty and merchandise. So for me to make that move from Noah down to WWE at that given point in time was a fucked up situation. I was missing home and shit and wanted to be back in States. I was living in Japan, making that trip to Japan, living in Germany, and having a hell of a time doing it. I was just getting tired of being in Germany and wanted to be back to where I spoke English again. So I wanted to be back in America, took that opportunity, and look, got screwed. Just like all the other hoes that work for the WWE.
So I take it you didn't like the gimmick that you had in WWE?
I didn't say I didn't like the gimmick. The gimmick was a challenge. You know what I mean? Vince was a freak about Rick James. To me, the gimmick looked like Rick James. You know what I'm saying? To me, it was all about proving a point to Vince. Vince was like, look, every gimmick that comes to the WWF takes him at least 2 years to get over. John Cena, you know, Shawn Michaels, probably The Undertaker's the only one who didn't get over. He got over in less than 2 years. He got over in like months. Stone Cold Steve Austin got over in months. The Rock in months. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody else that has a gimmick in WWE at least takes 2 years to get it over. To me, it was a challenge to take this gimmick as Flash Funk, get it over in 2 months, and prove to you that I can get this gimmick over in 2 months instead of 2 years. But sticking too cold into the body of Flash Funk, and getting funky with it.
And you were in ECW too. You want to just tell us about your time in ECW and what you think of Paul Heyman?
Man, ECW was some of the fabulous, some of the greatest times that I ever had been in a laid back locker room atmosphere. I probably never partied and did so much drugs in my entire life for what I did at ECW. But I also learned this shit, that ain't the way to live your life. Had good friends with Todd Gordon, my best friend, riding around with the Posse, the Sandman, Woman, you know what I mean, myself, you know what I mean, it's part of the original Posse, Fonzie, you know what I mean, with a group like that, man, shit, you can't do nothing but have fun. Paul Heyman, shit, mastermind. When you're talking about putting an angle together, telling a person how to do a promo, how to do a shoot promo and lay it out there, tell it how it is, Paulie had it going on. Problem with Paulie was, it was hard to believe everything that came out of his motherfucking mouth when it was about business or about your money. And now he'll write you a check that'll bounce a mile high, and you'll be lucky if you get paid. That was my only problem with Paulie. As a matter of fact, motherfucker, you still owe me money and shit, bitch.
I know Jeremy had a couple questions for you, so I'll just let him finish it off.
Okay.
I'll be in the house.
Yeah.
You're good at this. I love it.
So I'll ask this question. You had a lot of great rivalries in ECW. Some of them in the ring, some of them out of the ring. I know you and I have had the chance to speak a few times with a few people. One that always stood out was Taz. And I don't know if you want to talk about your relationship with Taz or what it was about him that maybe rubbed you the wrong way.
Me coming into ECW and shit, I had no problem with nobody else. My thing was, it's too cold Scorpio. You never know what I'm going to wear, what color I'm going to come out in, or what I'm going to do. So I happen to come out in some orange and black. Taz going to approach me, going to tell me, fucking smidget, just a little bit bigger than a midget. You know what I mean? Not quite a midget, not quite a smidget, you know what I mean? Just a little bit bigger than a midget. He gonna come up to me, don't get me wrong now, he was thick, he was thought he was a suplex king. I've been over in Japan with motherfuckers, those suplexes don't throw you in your motherfucking head. You know what I'm saying? So I had a problem with you. When you stepped to me, you told me I couldn't wear my black ones because those was your colors. I don't play that shit. I wear what I want to wear and I wear it well. That's why I had a problem with Taz. So, at any moment that Taz felt like he wanted to suplex me or throw my motherfucking head, all he had to do was step to me, boom, and it would have been on.
And one of the other stories that you had the chance to share with us before, I don't know if you maybe want to say it again, but you were an eyewitness to Bret Hart getting screwed in Montreal and his confrontation with the McMahon family, with Vince and his entourage. You happened to be there at quite a pivotal point in wrestling. Do you maybe want to explain what your reaction was to that, your feelings on that taking place in general, your relationship?
All I can say is it was wrong how they did the man. My thing is, it's all about business. You can't go in and just screw somebody like that. But hey, but when you work for the WWE, you work for the WWF, you're bound to get screwed one way or another. Don't drop the soap if you're up there. But anyways, going back on, I really don't want to elaborate on it, but the bottom line is, I'm sitting in the locker room, I see Brett, I see Vince and his Claire and his crew. Brett mad as fuck because they already fucked him out the belt. I'm thinking to myself, damn, some shit gonna go down. And you know, Jim Naville sitting over in the corner, he get to doing this shit, rubbing his goddamn beard. He's either up to no goddamn good or some shit is about to break out. All I know is Vince looked at fucking Brett talking shit, get the fuck out of my locker room, get out of my building, you're done, get out, da 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 da. And all I remember Brett was saying is, shut the fuck up, leave me the fuck alone. When I get done, I get dressed, I'll leave this motherfucker when I get good and ready. Vince says, you need to leave my building now. I remember Brett get over and tell him, look, I'm getting ready to take a shower. If you're standing there, when I get out the shower, I'm gonna knock your ass out. Me, being the big smoker I be, I was already high by this time because I was done. I'm sitting back and I'm bugging to myself thinking, damn, shit's about to go down. Vince and his crew's over there, got his son, Pat Patterson, you know what I mean? He got the damn shooter from back in the day and shit. I can't even think of the Briscoes. We had goddamn Briscoe. Briscoe, you know what I mean? I don't know if he a shooter or if he a hooker. Either way, that motherfucker hook you, you're hooked. All I goddamn know is Brett said that shit. He took his butt ass over there, went and washed the goddamn shower. He came out of that damn locker room with a towel wrapped around his ass. He looked over and see Vince still standing over there. Shit, he walked right back across the locker room over there, grabbed his jeans out that motherfucking locker. Didn't even get the water off his back good. Shit, got down, shit, didn't even put his drawers on, jumped down, Airborne Ranger, threw his jeans on, 501, button that motherfucker's about 3 buttons, 2 undone from the top. Didn't even put his shirt on, stepped into his tennis shoes, turned around, looked at Vince, walked over there, bam! Hit him with a left, hit him with a right, bam! Dropped him like a sack of potatoes. I mean, he went down, he went over, got to put the boots to him, his son jumped on top of him, got to cover his ass up and shit, you know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, shit, that was that. The rest of this shit, I'm sure y'all can read in Brett's book.
It's really something. I did have another question that came to mind. There was an accident that you were in shortly after that. Going from Montreal to Ottawa, you were riding in a car with Psycho Sid, Furnace and LaFawn. There was another person in the car, the name escapes me at the moment. And then you had an incident with Triple H in China as they passed you on the road. Do you maybe want to talk about that a little bit?
Basically, and stuff is we was going from Montreal to Ottawa, going to do a show. Sid Vicious was driving in the front seat, had the sunroof open. Phil LaFawn sitting in the front seat. Doug First was sitting in the back. I was sitting on the other side. We riding on this trip, and you know me. I'm in Canada. I'm in Montreal. I'm gonna find some good. So I found some good shit, right? So, you know, got one twisted up and shit. So we all gonna smoke in the car and shit on our way. So we all pass the joint around, all except for Doug First, because he don't smoke and shit. He just getting contact high. Got the window down, like, damn, that shit stink. You know, Doug take a couple hits, Sid take a couple hits. You know me, I Bogart, Snoop Dogg it, you know, finish it all off and shit. So we riding down the road and shit. And all of a sudden, we doing about 85, 90, going down, probably doing about like 120. You know, Canadian kilometer mile anyway. So we're doing about 120, 130, just getting down the road from Montreal, headed down to Ottawa. And it just happened to be a race in town that day, and the race was over and stuff. And we're flying by the traffic going on, and all of a sudden, Sid's so big, he sees the sun shining through the sunroof. So he reaches up, goes to close the sunroof, right? He closes the sunroof top, and all of a sudden, drifts off to the side of the road, lose control. Sid don't realize how big and how fucking strong his cock strong ass really is. So, you know, this little jerk like this, you know, at 300 some odd pounds, and used to Biz Prince and 500 something odd pounds like it ain't shit. You know what I mean? That's a lot of torque on the car. So we're down already off the road. So when he hit it like that, doing about 130 miles an hour, we just started fishtailing. Going down the road, we fishtail from one side to the other, down the gully, back up. So when we get down in the gully, he decided he gonna turn the wheel so we can come back up on the road, and he turned the wheels too much and the car stuck, and We just went to flipping. Next thing you know, man, everybody in the car is hurt but me. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm out, you know, the race people just happen to be behind us. They come, we snatch everybody out the car, drag them up the hill. People behind us just come snatch out the blankets. The MT just happen to be behind us. They come out with the shock blankets. They wrap everybody up in the shock blankets, call for the ambulance, all that bullshit, you know me, shit. I got my jeans on, my yellow jeans, looking for my cowboy hat, and, you know, I'm like, damn, with my cowboy hat, I got my backwoods cigars that's full of weed. I'm like, I know my shit out of someplace. I'm walking through the field, and I'm realizing, damn, there's our fucking luggage. Halfway all flipped out, so I go down, grabbing everybody's fucking luggage, find my cowboy hat, find my backwoods cigars and shit. Yeah, I mean, I get all my shit, get my shit back up to the car and shit, you know what I mean? So while I'm down in the motherfucking ditch, you know, I suppose, you know, China and Triple H, you know, they drove by and stuff, you know, headed to the show and stuff, you know, see me down in the motherfucking ditch over there, and I heard when they got to the motherfucking building, they making motherfucking jokes. Ah, yeah, it must have been an accident on the side of the road. We see Scorpio down in the fucking ditch and shit, crawling around on his knees, grabbing bags and shit. That's a motherfucking cart, no sin, bitch. You know all the motherfucking wrestlers take rental cars. You won't never, you see the boys down in the motherfucking ditch, you don't never stop and check on them. You're supposed to always check on the boys when you're driving down the road, when you're headed to the same town. And you don't come back and start talking shit. So right away, I'm mad, I'm shitty, I'm pissed. By the time we come from the hospital, thank God, Ron Simmons, and you know, all of those guys stopped. At that time, Savio Vega had his clique, had his crew. They was all there. Thank God all those guys stopped and shit. They all went to the hospital with us. They went to the hospital, called the boss, made the call, boom, they went on the TV and shit, made it up to Ottawa. Stayed at the hospital, got done with that, went to TV. I'm supposed to fight Triple H that night. I was like, shit, this ain't gonna be no wrestling match if I go out here and fight Triple H tonight. It's gonna be a motherfucking fight. So I talked to Pritchard, yo, like I had a day off, car accident, don't know what's wrong with me, yada, yada, yada. I didn't stay, they wanted me to stay, get checked. Like, fuck, I ain't hurt, shit, ain't need to get checked. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't think I should be wrestling tonight. He said, shit, you're working. He says, if you want the night off, you go talk to Vince. So I went and talked to Vince. Told him my same story, told him the shit that was going on, yada, yada, yada. Told him how I felt. Told him if I go tonight in there with Triple H because of the bullshit him and China said, it ain't gonna be no wrestling match, it's gonna be a motherfucking fight. Shit, Vince says, don't even worry about it, take the night off. And that was all she said and wrote. Next thing you know, shit, I'm getting a call the next day from China. I'm getting a card in the mail from China and Triple H, you know, apologizing. They didn't know, da 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 da. Shit, after that, man, we squashed the shit. Everything was all good. You know, my love to China, may she rest in peace. She was a cock-strong baby girl and shit, and she knew how to hold her own. So
I just got to ask you about the Psycho Sid stabbing incident in WCW since you brought up Sid, because I know you were there for that.
I was there for that.
Can you tell us that?
Basically, I'm not going to tell you the full story. I'm going to say it, if you heard it, you heard it. If you haven't heard it, you're going to have to read the book to find out. Give you a little detail. It was basically just Arn Anderson, Sid Vicious, pair of scissors, 122 stab wounds, blood just squirting out this way, that way, every which way and shit. People with broken nose, people have to have emergency surgery, shit like that. You know what I mean? Shit was fucked up. Then I had to be on the phone. I had to call motherfucking wives, get the motherfucker's real name, take the motherfucking information. Arn Anderson, remember, I saved your life, bitch. You was in power and you still didn't use your power to your advantage. Because I still was jobless. You owe me. Remember, saved your life. Saved your life.
Can I ask a question?
Hell to the no. I don't even know you.
Okay.
I'm saying, no. What you want? No,
I want you to rap for me. I want you to sing.
I don't rap.
No?
I don't sing.
You put a rap out of video?
Is there anywhere your fans can follow you to see this? Do you have a Facebook or Twitter?
Right now, you can follow me on Facebook right now. You can hit me up on Messenger. Basically, other than that, that's all I got going on right now and stuff. You know what I mean? Follow me, boom. I'm all over Canada, all over the States. Got it going on. Woo woo. What's up?